It's time for the one and only, the premier, the only official podcast of Pro Rodeo. Your Chute Bosses are ready, so let's give it a go and talk some rodeo.
Welcome into another special episode of the Chute Bosses here at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo with Tanner Barth and Tracy Rink. Like we have been, we took a couple episodes off because Tracy, yesterday, Wednesday at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo was crazy, unprecedented.
Yeah.
We had a Wednesday morning performance, we had a Wednesday night performance, so we didn't really have time to sit down and chat with you guys here, but we're back, and Tracy, we got a lot to recap. It was quite an eventful day here at the Thomas & Mack Center.
A historic day for obviously the wrong reasons because of the tragedy that struck the UNLV campus earlier in the week that caused the NFR to start later. But yeah, it was crazy. We're used to going to rodeos, that they have morning performances and then they go night, but at the NFR it's totally different.
And one of those, performances we got to talk about, we got to start off right off the top. How about Kai Hamilton?
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't get really touch on it because we went right into Wednesday's performance, but got knocked out in a scary wreck on Tuesday night in round 5. We thought, after speaking with some people around here in the Justin Sports Medicine team, that he was going to miss round 6. He bounces all the way back, comes back in the morning performance in round 6, finishes third there, then comes out and wins $99,000 last night.
Yep.
The only man to ride a bull, and what a story that is for Kai Hamilton.
Those are like 30 for 30 documentaries. The fact is, he's knocked out. You just didn't think there's no way he was going to ride it, especially in the morning. Maybe at the night, possibly, maybe somehow he got cleared, but the morning thing was crazy. He places, and then, he just stuck his bull. Last night, it was crazy, and he's on a roll, and it just tells you the muscle memory, the grit, just what those guys can go through. The toughness of bull riders, I told people there's a lot of crazy things I might try. Getting on a bull isn't one of them because they're so unpredictable. You see it one night, Kai Hamilton's one of the best in the world and gets knocked out. Next night, he's on top of the world again. But it's hard to do, and kudos to him. What bravery, what courage. These guys don't have guaranteed contracts. They have no reason to go out there. They're not relying on income necessarily to have to go. There's just things out there that make it so much better for rodeo guys to do something like this to prove the toughness that they have.
Yeah, you mentioned that just a little bit, Tracy, because Kai Hamilton also, he wants the money. He's now over $500,000 on the season. Might end up threatening Stetson Wright's earnings record for a total season if he keeps it up what he's doing. But also, he wants that world championship more than anything. I chatted with him last night. Obviously, he was, he was tired, probably hurting a little bit still, but he was gracious enough to sit down with us and chat. And, he just mentioned that this is something he's dreamed of since he was a kid. And, there was no way he was going to miss an opportunity to win a gold buckle. And that's just, it's different for these guys. Kids grow up dreaming being here in the Thomas & Mack, riding bulls for 89, 90 points and, walking away with a gold buckle. And it's getting closer to a reality for Kai Hamilton.
Right, and it wouldn't have been a reality likely if he misses rounds.
If he misses multiple rounds, it would have been tough.
Yeah, it would have been really tough. And not only does he not miss the rounds, he wins almost $115,000. Yeah. So he's put himself in great position. He's from Australia. There's not a lot of great bull riders from Australia. It's not like it's a.
Well, we got 2 Australians at the NFR, Damian Brennan and Kai Hamilton.
Right, and bull riders, it's even rare, especially in the PRCA. So I can understand the draw. And his best friend Stetson. He watches Stetson, and honestly, in some ways, no one wanted to see Stetson get hurt, but maybe now people realize how good Kai Hamilton is. It's kind of like when you're behind Trevor Brazil. There were so many good ropers and all-around guys behind Trevor maybe, but Trevor was always Trevor. Yeah. So now maybe Kai's going to get his moment and he proves how good he is.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. So let's start back at the top of our events. Obviously, in the bareback riding, world's #1 man is still Keenan Hayes. But, there's a lot of guys starting to creep a little bit closer to him, and one of those gentlemen is Clayton Bigelow. He's been on a roll through those middle rounds. That 5, 6, 7 round, he made up some ground. He's back within that $100,000 mark, but him and Keenan are both right there still on the average, so he's going to have to make up even more ground, or, on the vice versa, Keenan Hayes, just take care of business. Come out, ride your horses. If you ride your horses, don't get bucked off, I think you'll win the world if you're Keenan Hayes.
Yeah, if you just do what you're supposed to do, nothing crazy, and you just need to get checks. If he can finish in the top 3 in rounds, I think he'll be safe because he can stay in the average. Clayton hadn't won a round since 2020 in Arlington. He won 6, or he won 5, in 19 when he won his world championship in the average, and then he didn't win again, and he won 1 round in 20. And then he hadn't won since, and he's been every year since. So, he's one of those guys that's obviously streaky, and he's proved it. I think Keenan, I thought maybe the marathon would catch up to him, and you and I talked about this. I think he's doing everything he needs to do.
Like it, yeah.
He just, if he could win a round, I think that would be the push he needs.
Yeah, he's kind of in those low to, I guess I wouldn't say low. Yeah, maybe low to high 80s, somewhere between 82 and 86. And he's keeping himself right in there in the average. He's won a handful of money. He hasn't won any rounds, but he's won a handful of money in rounds and doing exactly what you need to do if you have a $100,000 lead. Take advantage of the matchups you have and go from there.
Right, because if you try to do too much with maybe a horse that isn't going to give you enough, then you get bucked off, then you're out of the average. I mean, ultimately, if you fall out of the average, you got problems because guys can make up $100,000.
Can't wait to see what happens in the next 3 rounds. In the steer wrestling, Dalton Massey still holding on to that #1 spot in the world standings. And he's also a guy that's just come in and been productive as productive can be, Tracy. We didn't, we never know what to expect when these guys are coming into their first Wrangler National Finals rodeo. How are they going to perform? Was the environment going to get to them? And some of these two first-timers, Keenan and Dalton Massey, it's just kind of been business as usual. They come out, make business-like runs. Dalton claimed the round 1 win, which helps. You get $30,000 right off the bat.
Right, and it was somewhat surprising for Dalton. He's an older guy, but the NFR does strange things to people. I mean,
Eddie had never been here. The horse he's riding as well.
The horse of the year he's riding, Tanner Milan's horse. So, and I had predicted Dalton as being one of the Top Gun contenders. Kind of went out on a limb just because I thought that horse is so good. And you gamble a little bit and think, well, because you just don't know what the horse is going to do. But obviously, it's meant a lot to him, and just stay consistent. Can you stay consistent? I mean, but you and I saw it last year with steer wrestling. I mean, the last guy we thought was going to win the world last year on night 10 was Tyler Wagesback, and he's still in the conversation.
He was 3rd or 4th in the world standings, and had a very slim outside chance. One of those ESPN graphs that goes like this.
Percentage of winning is like 2%. And he's still in the conversation.
He is.
And that's what I'm saying. Guys like that lourk around, then all of a sudden guy misses. He's out of the average.
Mentality,
yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'm glad to see these younger guys and some of the newer guys here doing great, because it's an opportunity. Some guys never come back, and it's unfortunate to say that, but some guys come multiple times. So it's been a crazy NFR for different reasons.
Yeah, and these next 2 events we're going to talk about are events that, who knows, it's anybody's world championship race at this point. First of all, Tracy, we'll start with the team roping. How about Clint Summers and Jake Long? 2 guys that came into the NFR, sitting middle of the pack, back into that top 15, blown their roof off the Thomas and Mack. They shared the round win with 2 other teams last night, but now 4 round wins for those 2, and they're looking like they have a golden opportunity. But don't count out some other guys maybe we don't talk about as much. Buddy Hawkins, Andrew Ward, they're right there in the average as well, and they're just $10,000 to $15,000 back. It's a really tight pack, 1 through 5 in the team roping.
It'll be interesting if anybody somewhat maybe safeties up to a point to try not to, because if you fall out of the average when you're that close, you're going to drop out and it's going to cost you the world championship. So do you push the envelope enough to place in the rounds, but at the same time, don't go crazy and fall out of the average?
And in the saddle bronc riding, this is a great race we got brewing right here. Sage Newman, Zeke Thurston, and also Cade Bruno. It's kind of a three-man and a 3-horse race at this point, Tracy. And, on the upper hand, you probably go to the guy that's the reigning world champion. The guy that has the chance to be a 4-time world champion. Zeke Thurston, he's at the top of the average. He put on a heck of a performance the other night on Explosive Skies. But don't count out Sage Newman. Sage has been close. He didn't have the NFR he wanted to last year after coming in number 1. Cade Bruno, a new face to be in this top 3 and then this championship race. It's going to be a heck of a finish, and they're all within 6 points of each other in the average as well. So it might come down to draw these final 3 rounds.
Yeah, certainly. And Zeke has the experience and has the championships. I mean, he'd be the first guy I'd lean on just because he's been there and done that. The guy that I would love to see do it and who shined in the biggest moments is Cade Bruno.
He has multiple stages.
The NFR Open he's won back-to-back years. At Sioux Falls he's won. So it seems like the bigger the moment, the better he is. And I love Sage Newman too. And Sage has won everything like the last 2 or 3 years except the World Championship.
Exactly.
So something's going to give, and maybe it doesn't give in the sense that Zeke wins number 4, but Zeke Thurston's going to go in the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame bronc rider for a reason, but everything is so much different in the last couple of years because of the average and the money that pays out on these rounds. It's life-changing money for these guys in some sense, and it just moves the standings up and down, and everybody looks at them like you and I do, and they're 2nd or 3rd, but none of it really matters until night 10 because of the average.
Yeah, it pays so much money, and it'll be golden opportunity to somebody walk away with, $115,000, $120,000 on the final night. Yeah, we move into the tie down roping, and what a night it was in, round 7. Round 6 was kind of business as usual. We saw our typical faces, Caleb Schmidt up there at the top half of that. But how about round 6 or round 7 last night? Haven Mejid comes out 6'4", breaks the NFR record. Next guy after him, Shad Mayfield, goes 6'1", and Haven's 30 seconds of holding the arena record goes by the wayside. But his calf gets up, it's nullified, it's a no time. And what a wild night. There's a lot of people talking about that on social media as, one of the best nights they've seen at tie-down roping at the NFR in the history of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, to go that fast, the understanding of that, to go 6, I mean, you're just throwing when it's, I mean, you're right on the barrier. I mean, to go in the 6s, especially 6'5" and under, I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's like a drag race. You're going 3.2 seconds at 350 miles an hour. I mean, it's unheard of. And it was great to see Haven do it. I mean, you could see his excitement.
Yeah.
And then Shad is who he is. I mean, he's money. His nickname is Money for a reason. I was just shocked because I was watching both, up above when we're typing, and I was stunned that Shad's calf got up.
It looked like a good tie.
Because, sometimes they jump up and it's so fast. And granted, his was one of the fastest in the history of the sport of rodeo.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like it had a reason to get up, like it was kicking, like moving. And then it was probably a couple tenths away from actually being a time. And now you'd have to think, depending what Shad draws, because he's out of the average.
Going for broke,
he's probably going for the world record at this point, because I don't see him. He's not going to win the world this year because he's so far out of the average. And will Haven keep pressing the envelope? Because now Haven's in the mix for a world title.
No doubt.
I mean, and it'd be
a little pressure on Riley Webb to catch.
Yeah, now Riley Webb, who's had a great season and he's had a great NFR. I mean, that's what's crazy to me is some guys lose the championship because of poor NFRs. They just don't perform well for whatever reason. And guys like Riley have done well, but some guys they just start clicking and they get on a heater, as we like to say, and then all of a sudden you're doing well and a guy's still 50,000 up on you at the NFR.
He's kind of following that Caleb Schmidt model.
Yeah.
Win one round here or there, but also just stay in that 8.2 to 7.6 range and stay in the average. Final night, clinch it. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens, man.
Right, and you can see in tie down, and I know I'm partial to Tuff Cooper because he's been around ever since I've been here, but Tuff started 15th and he's 5th in the world and he's 3rd in the average. So he'll be in the top 4 or 5, and that tells you how many spaces you can jump just by having a solid NFR. And who knows what's going to shake down. I know there's going to be immense excitement on round 10 because
a lot of pressure too.
There's going to be so much pressure, and I think the key will be, it'd be like the Super Bowl. Can you amp yourself down? Can you control your emotions? Can you slow things down to be able to be successful in that moment? And the crazy thing about round 10 is I've watched Trevor Brazil have a tie-down roping world championship in his hands. One of the times Caleb won and had to have like a 10-second run and got like a 15-second run.
Yeah.
Trevor Brazil of all guys. So, I mean, it happens to anybody. So we'll see how it all shakes out here in Vegas.
Yeah, and as we get closer to round number 10, that'll be Saturday night here at the Thomas and Mack. One race that may be decided before then, Brittany Posey-Tanazi wins a round last night. She extends her lead, Tracy, now to up around $150,000. She's looking like she's going to win, I believe it would be gold buckle number 3 for Brittany.
Yeah, she's won in 7 and 9. I mean, she's been around forever. She's been a great barrel racer, but Benny, her horse, is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
and not that Brittany is an exceptional barrel racer, but it's all about horsepower. And if she's got the good ground, as they like to speak, she's on top of the dirt, then
she'll be number 2 here tonight,
so,
round 8, so
that bodes well for her. So it'd be fitting if she clinches the championship when you've had a year like that.
Yeah, and it's going to be one that we may be able to decide and call tonight here at the PRCA, so make sure you keep our eye on our nightly releases. We already mentioned the bull riding. We talked about Kai Hamilton, but also right there, still in the mix. There is so much ground money available. Like we saw last night, Kai almost won $100,000 in one round. So you can't call bulls until, the fat lady sings, as they like to say, Tracy, just because there is so much ground money. So still right there in the mix, you look at guys like Josh Frost and Sage Kimsey, and Sage is riding really well right now.
Yeah, Sage is back. He's healthy. I mean, he's had his issues the last 2 years with the shoulder and then collarbone and different things that have kept him out. I mean, he's got 7 world titles. 8 would tie him with the legendary Pro Rodeo Hall of Famer Donnie Gay. I know that was one of his goals for a long time. It would be a minor miracle if they catch Kai, only because Kai, not only did he come back phenomenally from a scary wreck, but he's right in the average.
He also has now a 2-bull lead in the average.
Right, so even if Kai stumbled down the stretch, he's still got 5 ridden.
Gonna finish top
so
3
yeah, I mean, there's no one that can catch. Even if he's top 3 in the average, he's going to get a nice chunk of change there. So it's going to take a miracle, one ride a night like Kai did, in a $100,000 night, for someone to really put a scare into Kai Hamilton.
Yeah, we'll watch it all shake out here. Round number 8 is going to be coming your way tonight at 5:45 Pacific time. You can catch it on the Cowboy Channel, RFD TV, or the Cowboy Channel Plus app, and then follow along with all of our coverage right here on the PRCA and the PRCA social media accounts. That's going to do it for another special episode of the Chute Bosses. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning for a recap of round number 8.